For those of you that were in our previous lecture on systems thinking, we talked a little bit about how systems thinking is very useful in helping us understand the dynamic behavior of problems. And when we talk about dynamic behavior, we refer to how things change over time. You've seen this slide before. We've said that presenting a problem as a snapshot can give us some information. For example, we'll know how many million children have stunting or overweight globally, but it doesn't tell us the whole story. And in order to understand the whole story, it's important to understand this dynamic behavior of a problem, how things have changed over time. So, for example, if we look at the dynamic behavior, we can see, for example, the stunting has been going down, overweight has been going up. This example is what we're going to use today as well. So, for example, here you can see child malnutrition trends across different income group countries. And you can see that in all income groups, stunting has been going down. So there is something in the system, in the food system, that drives this reduction. And it's still a huge problem in many income groups, but something drives this down, makes the problem better. Looking at overweight, this is in children under the age of 5, so this is why prevalence is a bit lower. We can see that in low-income countries, there is some reduction, but in low, middle, and upper middle-income countries, there is an increase. Especially in upper middle-income countries, we've seen that overweight has been surpassing the problem of stunting. So we see this coexistence of overnutrition and undernutrition. Do you know how do we refer to this coexistence of overnutrition and undernutrition? You can use the chat to let us know. How do we refer to this coexistence of overnutrition and undernutrition? Yes, thank you, Sahiba. So today we are focusing on the double burden of malnutrition as an example of to go through this exercise. So yes, as you probably already know, the double burden of malnutrition has been defined by the WHO as the coexistence of undernutrition, like wasting, stunting, micronutrient deficiencies, and overweight and obesity, as well as diet-related non-communicable diseases. And it can exist at different levels. It can exist at the individual level, the household level, and at the population level. Yeah? So at the individual level, here just a few examples. We could have, for example, a child that it's overweight, has both overweight and stunting, so both high weight for their age and low height for their age. Or we can have coexistence of anemia and overweight in pregnancy. Another important type of individual level double burden of malnutrition is different types of malnutrition across the life course, but this is less easy to study given that it requires longitudinal studies of many, many years. So here just a few examples of individual level. Household level double burden of malnutrition is more well studied. We have higher prevalence in many, especially middle income countries. Some common examples are a stunted child or a wasted child with an overweight mother, or an overweight child with an underweight mother, or the mother with anemia. Then finally, population level double burden of malnutrition. This is what we're focusing on today. There is no widely accepted definition of what we mean by population level double burden of malnutrition. We refer to it as high prevalence of both overnutrition and undernutrition within the same population. So it could be a country, region and city, a community. But how we measure this high prevalence can differ across different studies. This Popkin definition is often used, so they have defined high prevalence of undernutrition as wasting over 15%, stunting over 30%, or thinness in women over 20%. And then they use different cutoff points for overnutrition. And when both of these are true, even within at least one population group, let's say only women or children or specific age group, specific gender group, then we consider this as a prevalence of, as an existence of population level double burden of malnutrition. And according to the WHO, there could be different drivers that can drive this double burden of malnutrition. from socioeconomic, socio-demographic drivers to biological drivers, especially relevant when we think about intergenerational transmission and the double burden over the life course. Environmental drivers, both climate-driven environmental change that is important to us here, but also other types of environment, food environment, built environment, trade policies, food systems, and so on, food supply systems, and so on. And then finally, behavioral drivers like dietary habits, psychological factors, and so on. So these are some categories of drivers of the double burden of malnutrition.